Good morning and welcome to Spark the Change. We are here today. I am here today with Luc Galoppin, all the way from Belgium, which is
Good
crazy.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's. I don't even know what time it is in Ontario. What are we? 9:15 on Ontario time. So what time is it in Belgium?
I see here on my screen 3:25.
Wow. Gotta love technology.
Yeah.
Crazy. I was talking to my kids before I came on and I'm like, okay, so you need to go because mommy's talking to people in like 3 different countries this morning. So off you go. So welcome everybody. And Spark the Change is a podcast about Spark the Change. And it's an event that's happening in Toronto for the 3rd year. It's going to be happening at the Royal Ontario Museum on June 12th and 13th. And it is 2 days of just amazingness. This is my 3rd year being involved with Spark the Change, and the things that I've seen over the past 2 years just blow my mind. And Luc and I were just talking about how I don't really have a background in agile change. I'm in communications and healthcare, and I have learned an incredible amount. So I'm really thrilled today to welcome Luc to across the microphone so I can learn more about you because you are one of our amazing speakers on day 1.
Cool.
Welcome.
And thanks for having me. Is this the part where I start introducing myself and start advertising, or do I have to hold my horses?
Introduce yourself first and then advertise second.
Okay, cool.
Is that fair?
Yeah. What should I say? I am a Belgium-based organizational change practitioner. I'm a solo practitioner, which means that I am not affiliated to any religion in the field.
Ooh, you're agnostic.
I'm agnostic, and I think in our field it's important to state that because most practitioners are affiliated to one or other methodology. I have my own toolbox, and I can fit it in with any methodology that I find on the market, or I can accommodate it to the wishes of my clients. That being said, I do know what I want from certain assignments, which means that I am very focused, and I will be looking for assignments where there is an affinity for community development. So if I would describe myself in 2 terms, one term would obviously be organizational change, but the other term would really be everything that has to do with community development.
Very cool. And we were talking before that on Friday, we had a speakers call with a few of the other speakers and some of the Spark the Change team. And I went back and listened to that before our talk today. And what I really loved is your focus, your proposed focus anyway, because we all know that's a fluid thing for speakers, to focus on synchronization. And if you can talk a little bit about, I'm just going to read quickly from the Spark the Change website, which if you visit gives a profile of each speaker and what their proposed topics are over the 2 days. And you are speaker number 2 on day 1, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And what we have here is, during this interactive session, we will explore our organization through the glass of a social architect. Glasses, beg your pardon. We don't have wine at the event, just FYI. We will address the following challenges. Do we need more hierarchies or less? Spoiler alert, the answer is more. How do we upgrade the way we lead our organization in order to respond better to the changing world? What is needed for accountability to occur and be sustained? What is the stepping plan to unlock the potential for community in our organization? How can you upgrade your toolbox with these new possibilities? So it's very cool that you mentioned that you've created your own toolbox, because that's what we're trying to do with Spark the Change every year. Is we don't ever want to force anybody to subscribe to one thing. We want to give them as many tools possible, and if it works for you, put it in your toolbox. And if it doesn't, that's cool. You've learned something new, and maybe you can apply it another time. So could you talk a little about the synchronicity focus that you plan to have?
Yeah, we came to the point of synchronization when one other speaker or one other facilitator mentioned something with percussion and the difference of rhythms that we will start to discover.
Nick and Rich.
Yeah. And that's when it occurred to me, well, actually, I will also be talking about resonance, and resonance between 3 types of entities. The first entity is the self, the authenticity of who I am. That is one core thing that I will be talking about. But what matters is is it yes or no in resonance with how I show up, who I am, how I show up? And then there is a third entity that I address, and that's the collective self. And if those three entities are in resonance with one another, that's when we can do amazing things with community. When I can show up as I am, and in doing so, I can contribute or find or discover how I can contribute and be meaningful in the collective self. That's when a community starts to mirror back to me the gifts that I have. And I start to discover my contribution and my added value, which on my own I would never have discovered.
Which is very cool, because that was one of the things we were just talking about, is how, ongoing learning and interests and what have you, what's the value of keeping those in your head and keeping those to yourself when you can double or triple the value of them because you choose to share and pay forward and help others learn. And again, they can choose to take it on board, or they can choose to, not and just listen to what you have to say. But when you take the opportunity to share, which is what Spark's all about, you've just added more value to yourself. Would you think that when you find that resonance and people have that comfort level that their authentic self is accepted by the organization that they're in, that there's opportunity there for discovery about themselves and perceptions, and they may think they have certain tools in their toolbox and realize that they've got this whole other set they didn't know existed because they have this safe community to develop with?
Well, the first thing to know is that we need others to be fully ourselves. That is what I always keep in the back of my mind. And it's not necessarily an organization that needs to be the entity that lets me unfold or lets me develop. Within an organization or within a context, there are different layers in which we can connect, and those are all different social scripts. Now, when we talk about a social script and when we are a member of a social script, automatically a social script will push us into a role. And it is within those roles that we start to discover the meaning of what we can of what we can add to a certain context. So when I have a role, it can be a dominant role with a higher status in a certain context, and I can have a different role in another context at the same time. So I'm wearing different t-shirts, different caps at the same time, and that's how a person is assembled. So you're not one number or one cog in the system, which is the flatland of an organizational chart. On top of that organizational chart, there are so many different levels of community, and being intentful about how we can start being productive with those different layers. That's what it's all about.
Very cool.
So I'm a little bit skeptic when we always name the organization as the responsible entity for making it all happen. There are different levels of responsibility.
Very true. And I don't necessarily mean, I think it's just in this context that the audience that we have coming to us, easily over 50% are coming as part of an organization that have some kind of issue that they need to solve. Sure. And I know for myself, I didn't realize, and when I went through the first day of Spark in 2015, I had no clue that any of these tools existed, that this type of thinking existed, that the opportunity was there to help people grow. And regardless of the size of the organization, right? It could be 2 people. It could be 200 people. It could be 2,000 people. So, it's kind of like the Men in Black reference to the size of a universe, where we have this misconception that a universe has to be, billions of light years wide, or it could be in the size of a jewel, and that's a universe to something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I kind of go with, that it regardless of who you're with, you can make these changes exist, and you can, on your own. Like I run an entrepreneurship group for women, and one of the reasons I started to do that is because, as a solo practitioner, that coming up with new ideas or getting that feedback that you need to grow something is really challenging. And that's why I created my group, because I was like, I need women to talk to about solid business issues so that I can get a new perspective. And am I crazy or what? Well, that's kind of, we won't talk about that answer, but different story. It's really important. And I have found such value, even if it's 3 people.
There's value from the moment that we have 2 people in the same room with the same goal. There is value in there, which is why I say that any workshop I do, even if there's only 3 people in the room, it can be a success, and I should commit to the success of that group, not in the room itself, but keep in mind that these people go out and they will also affect their contexts to which they go out to. And it also sparks a second thing in when we talk about this is when we talk about learning, a learning community or knowledge, it takes an anthropologist to really get it that knowledge does not live in static things, in books or in encyclopedias. It lives in interaction.
It needs an activator.
It needs an activator, and it only increases in value, or it only has value when it is exchanged.
Yep, I completely agree. And that's one of the reasons I love reading and sharing with people. And a lot of my conversations start with, so I was just reading this. It could be anything. I mean, I don't read a lot online, I'll be honest with you, because I'm very attached to the paper. But people are like, do you do anything else but read? Is that all you do? Well, it's a lot. It's better than, hookers and beer. So one of the interesting things that you said within the speaker's video was discovering gifts, which I think is what we've just kind of covered here, which was awesome. And then creating that resonance through seeking the process of how to improve and change and stabilize a culture. And then you did a really great quote. It's on your SlideShare bio, and I think it's on your Reply Management Consulting bio as well, which is, I look at organizations as communities to develop, not as machines to fix.
Yeah. And
that really, it's so simple, but so true. So can you speak to a little bit about how that thought came to be?
It's simple, and even in the arena of organizational change managers, it sparks a lot of attention because we were trained to fix problems. Most of all, those of us who are consultants, we have been trained to come in, be the expert, and to first of all declare that the current state is false, and implicitly declare that the people who have been working there and working hard and working their butts off to do their best to achieve results, that we can throw it all away. That's how we trained. And it's almost like the fish questioning the water, being conscious about the water we are swimming in. All of a sudden, we can discover that either we do away with everything that was created, or we can start using that context and see what's in there. And that's when we can develop a different sense. Instead of going for problems which need to be solved, we can start appreciating what is there already and discover the gifts or the underutilized potential that is in the room.
The opportunities that may have been hidden before now.
And that's a whole different story. That's a whole different approach. And
that's another podcast.
That's another podcast, yeah.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left. Yeah. And you said when we first started talking that you were going to surprise me somehow. So is that happening?
Is that happening?
Do I need a different intro?
I think that was when we talked about the session itself. I cannot talk about social architecture and the principles of social architecture by just doing a presentation, because I will be talking about the potential of a context.
Are you going to do something interesting?
I promised in that context I will not be doing anything with fire or bringing materials.
I love you so much right now, Luc. So for context, everybody, sorry, I'm just going to explain quickly. Yeah. Sorry. So we're having the event at the Royal Ontario Museum, which is an amazing location, and we're so thrilled to be there. But what we failed to really understand was that we are going to be in the sort sort of in the middle of not the middle of the building, but in a significant part of the building. And that provides some security and logistics challenges around what we can normally do as part of our presentations. So I'm having to manage a couple of ideas that there's like $4 billion worth of artifacts and interesting things in this building. Yeah, and I might be misquoting there, so I apologize, Ram. But there's a lot of really fancy old stuff, essentially, that is irreplaceable. So we have this ongoing joke about, somebody bringing in fire, which we are not doing, just on a stack of Bibles, nothing that's going to cause an issue. So anyway, go on, Luc. Sorry, I apologize, but just to give people context.
Indeed, it's good context. I will not be doing anything with the furniture or the stuff that's in there. But the thing is, I have to eat my own dog food. I cannot talk about social architecture and then do that just in the format of a presentation where I am the only knowledgeable person in the room, spreading out my content over the so-called empty heads. If I talk about discovering the potential in a room and working with what you have in a room, that's what I will have to work with. And the speaker orientation served me to sense the level of risk that I am prepared to take in that room in order to put myself out there and take a risk in terms of making this session as interactive as I possibly can.
So to be provocative, but not that we have to boot you from the building.
No.
That'd be awesome, because that's a long way back to Belgium.
Exactly. For half not even provocative. If I do it well, then my style should be inviting.
We have an amazing, we get surprised year after year with the amazing open-mindedness and receptiveness that we have from our attendees, which shouldn't surprise us because, people that are interested in what Spark the Change stands for and delivers, of course, are already open. But we have other people that arrive who've never experienced this kind of conference before. And we had people last year from actually my local government who ended up being so inspired that they were already putting on a similar event. And 3 or 4 of the speakers from last year ended up being a part of their speaker lineup. They were so inspired by what they heard. So Vikas Narula and Jennifer Spears and a couple of other of our speakers ended up coming and speaking at Spark the Change in 2016, and then being part of a further event that was partly inspired by this local government coming in and wanting to learn more about change and agile and tools and all that kind of stuff. So it's when those things happen that we are just, we're blown away. And Monday nights, we usually sort of sit down and go, oh, good. Well, like the night of the first day, there's usually a glass raised somewhere because we know we've had moments. Dave Dame spoke last year and did this incredible thing. And I feel so bad. I'm sorry, Dave, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was about his imperfect feet. That's what it was.
All right.
And I don't know if you've met Dave Dame before.
Not yet.
No. Okay. So Dave is an amazing, funny guy. And the first time he and I met in 2015, he said, I was just trying to make sure that he was accommodated because he has cerebral palsy and he's in a motorized wheelchair and he has an assistant that comes with him. Mm-hmm. He has got the sharpest sense of humor, right? And when somebody has a disability, you always kind of wonder, like, okay, what's okay and what's not okay with making fun. And he said to me at some point, and this is indicative of the sense of humor of our event, and we are not disrespectful. This was led by Dave. And he looked at me and he said, I get the feeling that if I don't do what you tell me, you're going to kick me in the junk. And I didn't even skip a beat. Face didn't change, nothing. And I said, Dave, why would I try and kick you in the junk? I'd hit your wheelchair first and then I'd hurt my foot. And he was hysterical. And I was like, this is so awesome that just the open-mindedness and the already different thinking that comes in just allows so many cool things to happen. And he came back in 2016 and did his imperfect feat. And the entire room was in tears because it was so inspirational.
Wow. And
the way he tied together the story that he'd shared and organizational change was just, and the rest of the day, Sean Button and I, who's a member of our team, we're just like, it's just so nice. Oh my God.
Wow.
And we try and shock and surprise people in a positive way as well and bring components in that they weren't expecting. So I'm very excited about what you're going to do. We're not going to say any more because I just want people to be like, ooh, that's kind of
Well,
exciting.
okay, then it's time for me to shut up as well.
I think we're done. We actually are done. We're actually at the end of time.
All right, okay, cool.
But I'm so excited. And I mean, you're on SlideShare, you're on LinkedIn, you're on your reply management, you have a blog going on, like you share knowledge in a ridiculous fashion, which is incredibly amazing because a lot of people who have
that's all self-interest, to be honest, because the more I share, the more I get feedback from people all over the world, which make me think and rethink what I've just put out there. And
that's amazing.
That's how I grow, and that's how I sense the world out there to see which direction is it going, and yeah, that's my way of sensing.
So if I may give you a kudos, though, there are a lot of people who have amazing abilities and talent and knowledge, but don't have the courage to put their knowledge out there like you do. So understanding the self-serving factor as far as, you gain stuff out of it. There are a lot of people that just keep their, the phrase is, keep their light hidden under a bushel basket because they're afraid of what other people will think and they're afraid of the feedback. And so I huge kudos to you because I think it's like you've got 62, what is it? There's an incredible amount on SlideShare on LinkedIn. I had a number and it was in like the 1,000 range, which I'm not sure is correct.
Okay. And then you haven't even checked my photos on Instagram.
I have not. Ooh, are you on Instagram?
Yeah.
I'll have to follow you because you're on Twitter. So let's share your social media stuff. So you're on LinkedIn as Luc. What's Twitter?
Excuse me?
What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, right. It's just my first name and my surname in one piece. Luc
so
Galoppin.
At LucGaloppin for Twitter.
Exactly.
Are you the same for Instagram?
Yes. I
Awesome.
try to keep it all the same.
And then people can check you out on LinkedIn, and you're also on LinkedIn SlideShare, and then it's reply-mc.com for reply management consulting.
That's my blog. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're everywhere. So that's awesome. People can find you and check you out and then sign up to come to Spark to meet you in person.
Sure. Yeah. I'd be happy to book my agenda with any meeting or anybody who wants to chat with me about change management, communities, or chocolate.
That's our speaker's gift, right? Because I saw here, I wrote it down here. You and your wife was the CEO of Reen's Sweets and Treats.
That's her. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a very nice speaker's gift that will make you although you're from Belgium, which kind of kicks ass in the chocolate department, but we're going to try.
I'll be very critical on that then.
Okay. Or you just, no, you know what they say here anyways, you don't have anything nice to say, just zip it.
So if I don't shut up, I will only have good compliments.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad it's not too late in the day for you, which is incredible.
This was fun.
I have a call on tomorrow with somebody who's attending by Kubi from India, which we're so excited about. And then I'm speaking to, I think, Katie and my goodness, I'm having a brain fart. I've got 2 more podcasts from people around the world in the next hour and a half.
I think Katie switched her time slot with me.
She did, but she's at the same. So we're getting into details that nobody really cares about. But you're going to be hearing. The point is, you're going to be hearing from more speakers who'll be at Spark the Change. You can visit our program page to see who our speakers are and what they're going to be talking about and when. So you can plan your visit. It's 2 days. Right now, I believe, is $5.99, but check the page to be certain. There's a speakers page that gives you even more details about everybody that's going to be coming over from around the world to help everybody's toolbox grow. So thank you so much for joining me, Luc. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're going to see you in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks? Yeah. I better start preparing.
That's crazy. We'll be in the middle of day 2 in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna start. So thank you everybody for joining us, and just visit Spark the Change. It's 2017.sparkthechange.ca to register and get more details. Thank you.